Hello. Hello. Hello.
नमस्कार, आप सभी को मेरा हार्दिक अभिनंदन. Good afternoon, respected dignitaries, esteemed faculty members, dear students, and our honored guests joining us from across the world. Welcome to Amity University Lucknow campus for an event that promises to be a confluence of knowledge, culture, and insight. The International Workshop on the Uniqueness and Relevance of South Asian Studies in Contemporary World. Autumn School, in collaboration with Uppsala University, Sweden, and sponsored by University of Tübingen.
Today, we gather at the intersection of tradition and modernity, where the rich tapestry of South Asia, its history, languages, and philosophies, meets the inquisitive gaze of the world. Let us remind ourselves of the timeless wisdom of our ancestors. Sarve bhavantu sukhina, sarve santu niramaya. May this gathering be the celebration of intellect, dialogue, and discovery. Before we begin, allow us to introduce ourselves. I am Disha Tripathi from BA Honours English, 5th semester.
And I am Naina Kumari from BA Honours English, 5th semester. Together, we are honored to guide you through this auspicious inaugural session.
Let us extend a heartfelt welcome to our respected guests and the dignitaries. Your presence makes this occasion truly special. We are delighted to have you with us and eagerly look forward to your valuable contributions.
As our talented students fill the auditorium with their melodious singing, we now witness the lighting of lamp, a sacred tradition symbolizing the victory of knowledge over darkness and wisdom over ignorance.
Let us invoke the eternal truth through this Sanskrit shlok. Om Astoma Sadgame, Tamsoma Jyotirgame, Mrityorma Amritam Game. May we be led from unreal to real, from darkness to light, and from mortality to immortality.
At this moment, we invite our dignitaries to the stage for the lamp lighting ceremony.
शुभं करोति कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदा शत्रुबुद्धिविनाशाय दीपज्योति नमोऽस्तुते दीपो ज्योति परं ज्योति जनार्दन
I request the dignitaries to kindly be present on the stage as we like to felicitate our guests. Please give a huge round of applause. Thank you, dignitaries, for giving us the honor to felicitate you with the tokens of respect, appreciation, and love.
Next, we are privileged to enjoy a classical dance performance by our talented student, Miss Raini Sinha from ASL, celebrating the rich cultural heritage and tradition of South Asia. Let us immerse ourselves in this beautiful expression of art, history, and storytelling.
राधे कृष्ण की ज्योति अलौकिक तीनों लोक में छाए रही है। भक्ति विवश एक प्रेम पुजारिन फिर भी दीप जलाए रही है। कृष्ण को गोकुल से राधे को, कृष्ण को गोकुल से राधे को बरसाने से बुलाए रही है। दोनों करो स्वीकार कृपा कर जोगन आरती गाए रही है। दोनों करो स्वीकार कृपा कर जोगन आरती गाए रही है। सुनी जो तेरी मुरली चली रे चल दे पिया मोरे वो जुलमी। गाऊं तेरे ही गीत क्यों ले मैं तेरी हो गई चढ़ गई तेरी पे तेरे। मोहना क्या हुआ यूं मत
जाता है वो जाता है वो जाता है जाता है जो है कल तेरा मन मेरा वाला जिसकी दीवानी ब्रिज की हर बाला वो किसना है वो किसना है वो किसना है किसना
Thank you, Rainy, for that mesmerizing display of grace, rhythm, and culture. Your talent made this event bright and colorful.
Now we invite Miss Ananya Khare from BA Honours English first semester, who will present an overview of today's international workshop, highlighting its objective, significance, and vision.
South Asia is not merely a region on the map, but a living laboratory where history, culture, and politics constantly interact to shape the global future. Good morning to our respected dignitaries, distinguished faculty members, honorable guests, and my dear fellow students. It is indeed a profound privilege and honor to extend a warm welcome to this workshop on South Asian studies. This academic endeavor has been made possible through the esteemed cooperation of our renowned institution, such as Uppsala University, Sweden, along with generous support and sponsorship of University of Tübingen. Their involvement has added immense value and credibility to this initiative. At this juncture, I wish to extend my deepest gratitude and sincere appreciation to Professor Divyaraj Amiyan, affiliated with both the universities, the University of Tübingen and University of Zurich. His intellectual contribution in providing the concept note, his constant presence throughout this academic journey, and his invaluable guidance have been instrumental in shaping and enriching this workshop. South Asian studies is highly relevant today as the region is home to nearly a quarter of world's population. It helps in understanding key global issues while also highlighting the global impact of the South Asian diaspora. By studying South Asia, one gains deeper insight into how this region shapes contemporary international relations, culture, and global challenges. The workshop is being conducted to provide participants with a deeper understanding of South Asia's culture, political, and economic significance in the contemporary world. It aims to create awareness about the region's opportunities and challenges, foster cross cultural dialogue, and equip learners with knowledge that is essential for academic growth, policy making, and global engagement. By collaborating with prestigious institutions like Uppsala University, Sweden, and Heidelberg University, Germany, the workshop offers students a unique opportunity to gain international perspective on South Asian studies. Such collaboration enhances academic exposure, encourages cross cultural learning, and provides access to diverse research methods and global expertise. It also opens pathways for networking, future exchange programs, and collaborative research, thereby broadening students' academic horizons and career prospects. Now, I would like to take a moment to present before you a brief schedule of the upcoming sessions of our workshop. Day 1 for today, we are privileged to have with us three distinguished speakers. Our keynote speaker, Dr. Heinz Werner Wessler from Uppsala University, Sweden, whose scholarly contribution in the field of South Asian studies are truly remarkable. We are equally honored to welcome our theme speaker, Professor Divyaraj Amia from the University of Tübingen and University of Zurich, who has been a guiding force behind this workshop. Last but not the least, our guest of the day, Professor Dr. Madhu Rajput from the Department of Western History, Lucknow University, Lucknow. Day 2, 7th October We have Dr. Mahendranath Thakur from Jawaharlal Nehru University, Delhi at 3 p.m. IST, addressing the topic Knowledge and Practice in South Asia, exploring resources for global philosophy. And thus, with these enriching sessions, our journey of exploration into South Asian studies continues. Each day of this workshop promises to open new perspective, deepen our understanding, and inspire meaningful dialogue. And the journey goes on. Thank you.
Thank you, Ananya, for that graceful and clear introduction. Your insights sets the right tone for session today, and feel everyone feels welcome for the same. Let us now delve into the world of imagination and expression as the Mimesis students present a theatre production weaving history, philosophy, and contemporary themes.
Let us also recall this eternal wisdom from Bhagavad Gita. Karmanne vadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. You have the right to act, but not to the fruits of action.
Now, I invite Ms. Aruna Singh from BA Honours 3rd semester to give an introduction for today's theatrical performance.
Mimesis has been staging performances since 2012 at Amity University Lucknow campus. Initially, it began as a medium of expression, producing plays in English with the aim of enhancing students' proficiency in the English language and communication skills. As it evolved, the group recognized a strong need to imbibe the Indian knowledge system and to explore literature rooted in South Asian traditions. Over the years, Mimesis has translated and adapted plays drawn from Indian epics and folklore, such as the Mahabharata and Ramayana. It has also brought to life the stories of Sadat Hasan Manto, Ismat Chugtai, and the poems of Dushyant Kumar and Ramdhari Singh Dinkar. The group has staged works by noted playwrights including Atul Satya Kaushik, Girish Karnad, Manav Kaul, and Surendra Verma, and has also explored diverse oral storytelling traditions such as puppetry, dastangoi, kathavad, and folklore. Mimesis believes not only in the holistic training of its member, but also in cultivating a philosophical inquiry into truth. It strives to blend education with creativity, encouraging students to express, empathize, and engage with both social and personal narratives through the medium of performance. In today's production, students will explore the unique nature of communication through three important sequences from the Mahabharata, drawn from three celebrated literary texts. The performance reflects upon how the Indian tradition of knowledge is deeply rooted in discourse, dialogue, and debate. The people of this land have long been argumentative and reflective, and philosophical inquiry has always emerged from this rich tradition of discussion and reasoning. The first scene is from Ramdhari Singh Dinkar's Rashmirathi when Krishna visits Duryodhan to negotiate peace, but Duryodhan, blinded by power and ego, tries to arrest Krishna, ultimately inviting his own destruction. The second scene is from Anwar Jalalpuri's Urdu translation of the Bhagavad Gita when Arjun, filled with fear and moral dilemma, questions the sequences of the battle of Kurukshetra. Krishna guides him to embrace the path of karma, teaching that one must act with conviction rather than retreat in hesitation. And the third scene is from Dharamveer Bharati's Andha Yug, when Gandhari, overwhelmed by grief and anger over the death of her 100 sons, curses Krishna Krish accepts the curse, signifying the tragic inevitability of destiny and consequence. Together, these scenes remind us that true communication can only occur when both parties are free from ego, fear, and anger. To communicate effectively, one must possess clarity of language, strength of character, and balance of personality. When these virtues are clouded by negative emotions, communication loses its essence and impact. Before the play begins, we will present a short video clip showcasing mimesis, long lasting standing association with South Asian literature and the Indian knowledge system, featuring a teaser of Dharamveer Bharati's Andhayog, a powerful reflection on the war of Kurukshetra and its aftermath. Please sit back and enjoy the performance as we journey together through these timeless narratives and their profound lessons on communication and human nature.
प्रभु हो या बराबर हो कुछ भी हो सारा तुम्हारा वंश इसी तरह पागल कुत्तों की तरह एक दूसरे को परस्पर फाड़ खाएगा
नमस्कार। मैं आपकी सूत्रधार। सूत्रधार क्या होता है? ये सूत्रधार किसकों से गुजरता है, सबको सुनता है, तब जाकर कभी कहानी से मिलता है। अब ये कहानी क्या है? कहानी सिर्फ किससे नहीं, कहानी कल का इतिहास, आज का विवाद, अत्याचार किसी का हर्षोल्लास। पर मैं कहती हूँ ये और कुछ भी नहीं, सिर्फ संवाद। संवाद संवाद केवल शब्दों का आदान प्रदान नहीं होता, संवाद मन से मन का मिलन होता है, शंका और सत्य का टकराव होता है और अंततः ज्ञान का उदय होता है। चाहे वो असल जिंदगी की बातचीत हो या महाकाव्य महाभारत के अमर प्रसंग, संवाद ने हमेशा मानवता की दिशा तय। जब श्री कृष्ण ने दुर्योधन को चिताया, तब वहां अहंकार का स्थान नहीं था, क्योंकि संवाद में अहंकार की कोई आवश्यकता नहीं होती। सच्चा संवाद तभी स्थान ले सकता है जब हृदय खुला हो और सत्य के लिए जगह। वहीं जब रणभूमि में अर्जुन विचलित हुए, तब श्री कृष्ण ने सिखाया कि कर्म करते हुए परिणाम के बारे में नहीं सोचते, कर्म करते हुए केवल कर्तव्य का स्मरण रहना चाहिए। क्योंकि जो व्यक्ति शंका करता है वो कभी संवाद नहीं कर सकता, केवल डर में जी सकता। और सारा विनाश हो जाने के बाद जब माता गांधारी से श्री कृष्ण का संवाद, तब वहां क्रोध नहीं, केवल करुणा और कर्तव्य का भाव। क्योंकि संवाद में क्रोध की भी कोई आवश्यकता नहीं। तो अहंकार, डर और क्रोध से मुक्त होकर ही सच्चा संवाद ठान ले सकता है। आज जब हम मिमेसिस ड्रामेटिक्स के विद्यार्थी इन अमर प्रसंगों का मंचन इस मंच पे करने जा रहे हैं, तो स्मरण रहे, संवाद केवल बोला नहीं जाता, संवाद संपूर्ण तभी होगा जब उसे महत्व देके सुना जाए और ग्रहण किया। मैं दूध खाओ पानी पत्थर पांडव आए और सौभाग्य न सब दिन सोता है देखे आगे क्या होता मैत्री की राह बताने को सबको मार्ग पर लाने को दुर्योधन को समझाने को भीषण विध्वंस बचाने भगवान हस्तिनापुर आए पांडव का संदेश लाए
तो न्याय अगर तो आधा दो, पर इसमें भी यदि बाधा तो दे दो केवल 5 ग्राम। रखो अपनी धरती तमा, हम वही खुशी से खाएंगे, परिजन पर हंसी न उठाएंगे।
दुर्योधन को भी दे न सका आशीष समाज न सका हरि को बांधने चला तो था साध्य साथ ने कला अवतार मनुष्य पर खाता है पहले विवेक मर जाता हरि ने भीषण हुंकार किया अपना स्वरूप विस्तार किया डगमग दिग्गज बोले आकाश विक होकर बोले
जंजीर बढ़ाकर साध मुझे, हाँ हाँ दुर्योधन बांध। ये देख गगन मुझ में लय है, ये देख पवन मुझ में लय है, मुझ में विलीन झंकार सकल, मुझ में लय है संसार सकल। अमृत वो फूलता है मुझ में, संघार झूलता है मुझ में। व्याचल मेरा दीप्त था, भूमंडल वक्ष थल विशाल, मुझ परिधि बंध को घेरे हैं, मैनाक मेरु पग मेरे हैं। दिप्ते जो ग्रह नक्षत्र निकर, सब है मेरे मुख के अंदर। त्रिग हो तो दृश्य कांड देख, मुझ में सारा ब्रह्मांड देख। चर अचर जीव जक्षर अक्षर, नश्वर मनुष्य सुर जातियम। शतकोटि सूर्य शतकोटि चंद्र, शतकोटि सरित सर सिंधु मन। शतकोटि विष्णु ब्रह्मा महेश, शतकोटि विष्णु जलपति धनेश। शतकोटि रुद्र शतकोटि काल, शतकोटि दंडधर लोकपाल। जंजीर बढ़ाकर साधने, हा हा दुर्योधन बांधने। लोक अतल पाताल देख, गत और अनागत काल देख। ये देख जगत का आदि सृजन, ये देख महाभारत का रंग। मृतकों से पटी हुई है पहचान, कहाँ इसमें तू है। अंबर में कुंतल जाल देख, पद के नीचे पाताल देख। मुट्ठी में तीनों काल देख, मेरा स्वरूप विकराल देख। सब जन्म मुझी से पाते, फिर लौट मुझी में आते। जिह्वा से कड़ती ज्वाल से, सांसों में पाता जन्म पग। पड़ जाती मेरी दृष्टि जिधर, हंसने लगती है सृष्टि। मैं जब ही मूंदता हूँ लोचन, छा जाता चारों ओर मरण। बांधने मुझे तो आया है, जंजीर बड़ी क्या लाया है। यदि मुझे बांधना चाहे मन, पहले तो बांध अनंत गगन। सूने को साध न सकता है, वो मुझे बांध कब सकता है। हित वचन नहीं तूने मान, मैत्री का मूल्य न पहचान। तो ले मैं भी अब जाता, अंतिम संकल्प सुनाता। याचना नहीं अब रण होगा, जीवन जय या कि मरण होगा। टकराएंगे नक्षत्र निकर, बरसेगी भू पर वहनी प्रखर। शेष नाग का डोलेगा, विकराल काल मुंह खोलेगा। दुर्योधन रण ऐसा होगा, फिर कभी नहीं जैसा होगा। भाई पर भाई टूटे, विष बाण बूंद से छूटे। वायस श्रृगाल सुख लूटेंगे, सौभाग्य मनुज के फूटे। आखिर तू भूषाई होगा, हिंसा का परदाई होगा।
सब लोग करे बेहोश पड़े केवल तो नर नार जंग का मैदान है और अर्जुन जंग लड़ने आए। तो एक दिन सारी नसीहतें ताक पर धरी की धरी रह गई और जंग का कारोबार गरम हुआ। कैसे कैसे लोग जंग में शहीद हुए कि न है मोरदारा न कब्रे सिकंदर, पिटे नामियों के निशान कैसे थे और कैसे कैसे सियाहत जंग में खेल रहे कि कहा कुछ ललव कुल में नुमाया हो गई, हाथ में क्या सूरतें होंगी कि पिन्हा हो गई। मगर ये जंग हिंदुस्तान जन्नत निशा की सबसे हैबतनाक जंग, महाभारत की जंग शुरू होने से पहले ही खत्म हो जाती कि जब अर्जुन रणभूमि में पहुंचे तो ये देखकर दंग रह गए कि उसके मुखालिफिन में कोई उनका चाचा, कोई उनका ताऊ था, कोई उनका दादा जान को लेने आया था और जो उसकी जान के तरफे थे सब के अपने के मुकाबिल डरोना और भीषण सिवाय चलाओ बुजुर्गों पर किस तरह तीर, नहीं मुझ में बाकी ताबो तमाम कि यकीन दिल से गायब है गालिब हुआ। देखकर अर्जुन इस कदर मजबूरता हुआ कि उसने मन में ये ख्याल किया कि कैसी लकीर है जो एक ही वतन को दो हिस्सों में बांट रही है, जहाँ खानदान खानदान की जान लेने की तरफ, जहाँ पड़ोसी पड़ोसी को ही मारने पे तुला, जहाँ परिंदे अपने ही परों को, अपने ही फलों को और अपने ही घोंसलों को खा जाने पर आमादा। देखकर अर्जुन को इस कदर मजबूरी हुई कि उसने हथियार रख तब कृष्ण जी ने उससे पूछा, ये फैसल तूने हथियार क्यों रख दिए? तब अर्जुन ने कहा, ये केशव मुझसे ये जंग नहीं लड़ी जाए, इस तरह अपनों की भी बर्बादी और तराजी हासिल करके तो फतेह हासिल होगी, फिर उससे कोई रगबत नहीं। मुझे तो कोई रास्ता सुझाई भी नहीं देता कि आप ही मार्गदर्शन कीजिए कि त्वमेव माता च पिता त्वमेव, त्वमेव बन्धुश्च सखा त्वमेव, त्वमेव विद्या द्रविणं त्वमेव, त्वमेव सर्वं मम देव देव। तब कृष्ण जी ने अर्जुन को अमर का, योग का, कर्म का, पुरुषार्थ का एक ऐसा पाठ पढ़ाया जो इतना बेमिसाल बात था कि आज हजारों साल गुजर जाने के बाद भी काल वही वास की बात पर हिंदुस्तान जंगल दिशा के दर्रे दर्रे में सुनाई गई। बात पर अर्जुन बोले,
सभी अपने ही है दोनों तरफ, खड़े है मैदान में सब बात सब। करूं किससे नफरत, करूं किससे प्यार, ये सब लड़ने वाले हैं मेरे रिश्तेदार। मेरा जिस्म अब अंदर से कमजोर होने लगा कि ये दिल अब रोने लगा। गला खुश्क होने लगा है मेरा कि मजबूर अब हौसला हो रहा है मेरा। बदन में मेरे सनसनी हो रही है कि नीयत मेरी अब बदलने लगी। नहीं दम कि अब खड़ा भी रह सकूं, लड़ने के खातिर अब अड़ा भी रह सकूं। मेरे रूहों जान, मेरे कार सांस, नहीं मालूम मुझको क्या है ये राज। भाग्य आजाद कुछ बेहतर नहीं, मैं जंग के मैदान में हूं, अपने घर के अंदर नहीं। मैं कैसे उठाऊंगा इन पर धनुष, बुजुर्गों पर कैसे आजमाऊंगा धनुष। ये मेरे कुंबे के अपराध हैं, सभी के मुझको नाम तक याद है। मैं किस दिल से चलाऊंगा इन पर तीर। ये सब दुश्मन ही सही लेकिन है मेरे वीर। मुझे पता है कि कोई रगबत नहीं है, मुझे सल्तनत की कोई चाहत नहीं है, मुझे ख्वाहिशो ऐशो इशरत नहीं है, मुझे सुख की कोई जरूरत नहीं है। ये ये राज मुझको जिनके लिए चाहिए, वही तो है मेरे मुकाबले में। कहीं बाप दादा होते भी हैं, गुरु ससुर और साले भी हैं। मेरे रूह हो जान, मेरे कान साज, मेरी उलझनों को सुझाइए। मुझे मिल जाए तीनों जहां, इन्हें मार के मैं रहूंगा कहां। इनके कत्ल करना भी तो पाप है, कि हद से गुजरना भी तो पाप है। ये लालच है और लालच बुरी बात है, ये कुछ भी नहीं बस खुरापात है। ये नस्लों की बर्बादियों का सबब है। बराबर हिकायत निदामत गजब है, मिटाता ये खानदानों के नाम, किसके बाद लगती सुबह भी शाम। है मिटे रवायत व रस्मो रिवाज, बदलती है सोच, बदलता है मिजाज, बदलता है धर्म का रंग और रूप। अच्छी सी सूरत लगती गुरु, खुले में ये इंतजार। अगर धर्म पर आ जाएगी तो दुनिया को दीमक खा जाएगी। अगर पाप फैलेगा संसार में तो बिकेंगी खवातीन बाजार में। जहन्नुम का फिर पेट भर जाएगा, जो है शरीर वो डर जाएगा। लगेगा कहीं पिंड पानी कोई, नजर आएगा ना फिर गाली कोई। जो है पितृ वो मायूस हो जाएंगे, सदा के लिए वो फिर सो जाएंगे। अरे कोई, क्या हम समझदार हैं जो जो ये पाप करने को तैयार है, अपनों को मारने चले। ये है जीत, या हारने चले? सुनाता हूं मैं अब अपना फैसला। मैं अपनों को मारूं ये मुमकिन नहीं, पर उनका उतारूं ये मुमकिन नहीं। मैं मर जाऊं यही बेहतर है मेरे लिए, यही सबसे सुंदर है मेरे लिए।
तुझे फिर भी लाजिम नहीं रंजो, सबकी निगाहों में है मोहतरम, चखेगा हर एक मौत का जायका। यही है अजल से यही सिलसिला, मरेगा जो पैदा भी होगा वही, यूं ही चलती जाएगी ये तेरे मेरे बस की ये बातें नहीं, हवा व हवस की ये बातें नहीं, जो बस में नहीं पे रोना ही, बेला वजह पलके रोना ही, न कल जिस्म था और न होगा ये कल, इसी के लिए तो है आती अजल। ये तन वाले जितने भी मौजूद हैं, सभी की तो सांसें भी महदूद हैं। ना कल ही रहेंगे ना कल ही ये, समझ ले ये पानी के है गुल, कर्मण्ये वाधिकारस् माँ फलेषु कदाचन, माँ कर्म फल हेतु मारते संगोत्स्व कर्म। अर्थात तू कर्म कर, फल की चिंता मत कर।
तो वो पड़ा है कंकाल मेरे पुत्र का, तो वो पड़ा है कंकाल मेरे पुत्र का। किया है ये सब कुछ कृष्ण, तुमने किया है ये। सुनो आज तुम भी सुनो, मैं तपस्विनी गांधारी अपने सारे जीवन के पुण्यों का, अपने सारे पिछले जन्मों के पुण्यों का बल लेकर कहती हूँ श्रेष्ठ सुनो, यदि तुम चाहते तो रुक सकता था युद्ध ये। मैंने प्रसव नहीं किया था कंकाल को, इंगित पर तुम्हारे भीम ने अधर्म किया। क्यों नहीं तुमने वो श्राप दिया भीम को जो तुमने दिया निरपराध अश्वत्थामा को। तुमने किया है प्रभुता का दुरुपयोग। यदि मेरी सेवा में बल है, संचित तप में धर्म है, तो सुनो कृष्ण, प्रभु हो या परात्पर हो, जो भी हो, की तरह एक दूसरे को परस्पर फाड़ खाएगा, तो खुद उनका विनाश करके कई वर्षों बाद किसी घने जंगल में साधारण प्यास के हाथों मारे जाओगे। प्रभु हो, पर मारे जाओगे पशुओं की तरह। माता, प्रभु हूँ या परात्पर, पर पुत्र हूँ तुम्हारा। तुम माता हो। मैंने अर्जुन से कहा, सारे तुम्हारे कर्मों का पाप पुण्य योग क्षेम मैं वहन करूंगा अपने कर्मों। 18 दिनों के इस भीषण संग्राम में कोई नहीं, केवल मैं ही मरा हूं करोड़ों बार। मेरे भी सैनिक भूमि शाही थे, कोई नहीं था, वो मैं ही था। गिरता था घायल होकर रण को। अश्वत्थामा के अंगों से रक्त पीप श्वेत बनकर कहूंगा, मैं ही युग युगांतर था। जीवन हूं मैं, तो मृत्यु भी तो मैं ही हूँ मां। श्राप ये तुम्हारा विकार है। ये क्या किया तुमने? कोई नहीं, मैं अपने को लेके, लेकिन देश ऊपर मेरी ममता मान। करते थे श्राप ये मेरा दिमाग विकार, तो क्या मुझे तो होगा। मैं भी निराश, अटूट ऐसा मत कहो। जब तक मैं जीवित पुत्रहीना नहीं होती, प्रभु क्या परात्पर, हर पुत्र हो हमारे। तुम माता हो, शांत शांत शांत।
I request everyone to give a huge round of applause in appreciation as I introduce the cast and crew of today's magnificent dramatic presentation. Sutradhar as Kanak Mishra, Krishna as Rimirai, Arjun as Kuber Tibari, dance performance by Divyanshi Srivastava, Gandhari as Divyanshi Srivastav, property in charge Ayush Prasad, assistant director Rajkumar Rai, music managed by Ananya Shukla and Rajkumar Rai, lights done by Nana Kumari. Let's give them a huge round of applause.
Our heartfelt appreciation to the Mimesis students for their inspiring and thoughtful performance. You brought important ideas and emotions of life on stage and motivated us to reflect and imagine. We deeply admire your creativity.
To formally inaugurate this esteemed gathering, it is my honor to invite a distinguished academician, a visionary leader, and the driving force behind the Amity School of Languages, Professor Dr. Kumkum Ray Ma'am, Director, Amity School of Languages, Lucknow campus, to deliver the welcome address. Professor Dr. Ray is a specialist in English literature and technical communication and has authored more than 10 books and received the International Excellence Award in 2003 and 23 and 2024. Ma'am's deep love for nature, kindness, and equality inspires us all. Over to you, ma'am.
Good afternoon to all the dignitaries present here. The dignitaries special to my heart are my students. And of course, the faculty, the HOIs, and the eminent guest speakers for this workshop. My greatest gratitude is to our founder president, Dr. Ashok K. Chauhan, whose vision I carry in my heart and try to fulfill it. Grateful to our chairman, Dr. Asim Chauhan, the brilliant visionary leader who has always been by my side, and I have always looked up to take our students and to make them success stories. I'm also thankful to our Pro VC, Dr. Vashish sir, to the Deputy Pro VC, Wing Commander Tiwari sir, and really very thankful to the coordinator of this event, Shraddha. Shraddha's support to realize my vision and my, what should I say, my heartfelt felt areas to walk on, especially as at the center of excellence on Indian knowledge systems, to Dr. Rohit, who brings on stage to reality the stories, the lores, the narratives, the classics of ancient India and puts them in reality. I'm so thankful to all my students who came here and performed on the stage and all my faculty from the Amity School of Languages. Southeast Asian literature is a model of cross-cultural writing. In related researches, there is a lot amount of achievements on ethnic identity, unique narrative style, and cross-cultural exchanges. On the basis of previous researches that absorb part of the experience and conclusions, take Southeast Asian literature as an example to explore the cohesion of Southeast nations, enhance the identity and feel the unique literary landscape produced by the diverse cultures. The cohesion of the Southeast nations through textual analysis, special language performance, and literary history readings improve the sense of identity about Southeast Asian culture and feed the unique literary knowledge. Compared with the previous studies, the focus on its practical significance not only explore the past history of emotions, but also draw the cultural impetus needed for the development of the present from it. In addition to the influence of the domestic environment, the social environment in Southeast Asia, this cannot be ignored because at all time the Southeast Asia has been treated unfairly. The process of preserving the traditions, combining them with the local cultures, created particular literary memories that belong to Southeast Asian writings. Regional customs, natural environment, and foreign language are some of the factors that have a great impact on it. Therefore, adding different interest from the local literature, the hot and humid environment, diverse landscapes of Southeast Asia, formed under the influence of the subtropical monsoon climate, made writers incorporate into their works delicate depictions of tropical rainforests and island landscapes. The linguistic diversity not only adds to the expressive power of the text, but also reflects the multicultural character of Southeast Asia literature, vividly demonstrating the unique charm of cultural intermingling. The reason why some Southeast Asian literature has not become mainstream is that although the works were born in the soil of Southeast Asia, the world and stories constructed by the authors were based on their imagination of a foreign land rather than their own lives. They lacked observation and excavation of the local life. With excursions and ancient archaeological findings, the spread of Indian knowledge systems, connecting not only Southeast Asia, but through areas where in the colonial regime period of subjugated had only upgraded their Western knowledge system, their theories, their narratives. But with the change of time, the Indian knowledge systems, the Vedic and the ancient writings have elevated the status of not only Viksit Bharat, but Southeast Asia as well. The inferiority complex driven by Western culture, transforming भारतीय ज्ञान प्रणाली बताती है ज्ञानम जीवन च परंपराय नूतम च यात्रा धर्मास्थ तात्रुंच चय. Where there is dharma, righteousness, there is victory. Written in Sanskrit, which is 4,000 years old, the oldest language in the world, Shraddhavan labhate gyan. A person with faith attends and attains knowledge. Durlabh se sada sukham. To be happy is always difficult to achieve. This is to say, happiness and sorrow alternate in one's life and cannot be uninterrupted with only happiness. Hence, this workshop conducted will take Southeast Asian knowledge ahead with glorious expert speakers, exposing our participants to the world ahead. A person who is distinguished in their own areas of new perspectives. I am very, very grateful to Professor Hans Werner Wessler, Mr. Divyaraj Amia, Professor Madhu Rajput, for giving their new perspectives to our participants today. Welcome and thank you so much. जय भारत और हमारे बच्चों का योगदान इस विकसित भारत को. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am, for your motivating words. Your encouragement has always helped us chase our dreams. We are grateful for your guidance. Today's event would not have been possible without your blessings and support. Your leadership truly marks a difference for all of us. We now have the honor of welcoming Professor Dr. Heinz Werner Wessler, Department of Linguistics and Physiology, Uppsala University, Sweden, as our keynote speaker. Sir is a professor of Indology with a focus on modern South Asian languages and culture, continuing an old tradition of teaching and research in South Asian linguistics and physiology in Uppsala. He studied Indology, comparative religion, and musicology in Bonn, Delhi. After his postdoctorate, he came to Uppsala as a visiting professor in 2010 and became a full professor in 2014. He has been a board member of the European Associate for South Asian Studies from 2010 to 2016 and has been elected again in 2021. Besides, he is a board member of the Pseudo-Asian Bureau, the Advisory Board of Literature Forum Indian, and the Alami Urdu Adab. He is also a member of the editorial board of the journals Orientala Sukena, Garbanal, Pseudo-Asian, and Singhanam. He has received 3 awards in the world of Hindi: Vishwa Hindi Samman in 2015, the George Garrison Award in 2018 and 2021, and the Camel Wilk Award in 2022 and 23. He has worked on modern and contemporary literature in Hindi and Urdu and on Sikh textual traditions. He publishes in English, German, Hindi, and occasionally in Urdu and Swedish. Please join us in extending a warm and heartfelt welcome to Professor Dr. Hans Werner Wessler, who is joining us virtually today. We are honored to have you with us online. We look forward to gaining from your rich insights and expertise.
शुक्रिया शुक्रिया उम्मीद है मेरी आवाज आ रही है कि नहीं आ रही है
Yes, sir.
जी बहुत खुशी हाँ आदरणीय प्रोफेसर कुमकुम राय आदरणीय अशोक चौहान आदरणीय रसीम चौहान जी प्रिय श्रद्धा श्रीवास्तव और दिव्यराज अमिया भाई मैं शुरू में थोड़ी सी हिंदी में बोल देता हूँ थोड़ी देर में मैं अंग्रेजी की तरफ जा रहा हूँ लेकिन सब लोग हिंदी में कुछ बात करते तो मैं भी करता हूँ और मैं चाहूँ या ना चाहूँ मैं एक जीवित प्रमाण हूँ कि हम गोरे लोग हिंदी सीख सकते हैं अगर चाहे तो और छात्र आएंगे ज़रूर हमारे पूर्वजों में कोई हिंदुस्तानी नहीं है फिर भी ये सब हो सकते हैं जिस तरह से लोग चीनी सीख लेते हैं कोरियाई सीख लेते हैं जापानी या जो भी जुबान है रूसी स्पेनिश बहुत कुछ हो सकता है अंग्रेजी सब कुछ नहीं है इसके बारे में भी बात करूंगा With that, I go over to English, and I'm very happy. It's a great pleasure to be with you today. And this internet and Zoom this is really a tool that connects us, and I'm very happy about this. I also have my doubts about the globalization project through internet. Of course, we all have. But it's very good. I'm very happy that we have this kind of collaboration between Uppsala University and Amity University in this way. I've prepared a PowerPoint presentation and I hope it will show up. I'm opening it now. I hope you
Sir, please unmute yourself.
Okay, sorry. I have to unmute myself. I see. Now you can hear me again?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine now. Okay, yes. So I'll speak about, do you see the presentation also?
Yes, sir.
Okay, wonderful. Wonderful. So I'm myself, I'm sitting on a chair of Indology in Uppsala that goes back to 1892. First Sanskrit teaching 1838 in Uppsala in a faraway country in Northern Europe. So it was not the center of, let's say, Indological teaching at those days, and it still isn't, but it also participated in this great, how should I say, awakening of Sanskrit studies and Indo-European comparative Indo-European studies in the beginning of the 19th century. And that was a time of incredible kind of growth of all kinds of studies, including Indology, including the Sanskrit studies, which brought forward a very interesting tradition, highly appreciated in India. But now, let us start with I don't want to just praise the great tradition, but it's also now we are in crisis. A lot of the small departments in Germany, in Poland and France, Italy have been closed down in recent 2 or 3 decades. And the whole concept of Indology has been questioned. And it's also part of a larger crisis. The number of students is going down. And we also have a crisis of humanities in general. So humanities are being questioned. What about how do we contribute to the progress of society? How do we contribute to progress? But it's a very similar crisis in the sciences itself, and it's goes more and more towards applied sciences, and basic sciences are taught less and less. Fundamental sciences are taught less and less. So the complaint is overall. On the other hand, India is growing, and the Western countries know it. It's an emerging giant. There are a lot of books with these kind of titles. The Asian giant. A lot of these comparisons between the two Asian giants, China and India, are going on. The dragon and the elephant. There are a lot of these images going around, and we all know that the West is basically now much more positive about India in general. I'm not talking about Indologists now. I'm talking not only about politics, also the general public, because everyone knows if there's any state, any nation that could compete with China, if we look towards the future, it's India and nobody else. So, and on the other hand, also the images of India in the West are constantly changing. While earlier, let's say 30, 40 years ago, it was basically poverty, corruption, and a little bit spirituality was also there. But these were contradictory images. Now a lot of other images are there. There's the engineers. The Indian engineering has gained a name, and a lot of sciences and all kinds of things are coming up. So it's a much more rich image of India in the general public in the West, I can say. And we have also, when I look towards literature, we have more translation. That's particularly true for Germany. I'm now particularly taking Germany because everybody looks for English, and it's not sufficient. I'll come back to that. We have a lot of translations of Indian literature in recent years, and I'm taking here one publication house. It's called Draupadi Verlag in Germany, which has brought out about 80 books in the last 20 years. Basically, Indian translations from Indian languages, be it Hindi, Urdu, Tamil, Telugu, Malayalam, all kinds of languages, Bengali also, of course. And so this is but it has not yet entered the big publication houses very much. One name is a little bit prominent, that is Alka Saraogi, and now, of course, Gitanjali Shri among the Hindi authors. Otherwise, the book market is still very much dominated when it comes to Indian literature by the Indian English novel writing, not short stories, not poetry, not biographies, novel writing. But things are changing. On the other hand, I spoke about the crisis. We are talking, Indology is traditionally a philological subject. Philology is somewhere in between linguistics and literature studies. It deals with texts, not so much with words, but with texts. I usually translate it into Hindi as Vangmay Shastra. When you look to Bhartrhari and this idea of Vangmay, it's not really literature. There's a difference between Sahitya and Vangmay. Vangmay actually deals with units of text. It's the text, it's not the linguistics, which would be Bhasha Shastra. So it's Vangmay Shastra would be in between Bhasha Shastra and Sahitya somehow. Now we are, of course, questioning historical philology, because the growth of Indology also had to do with the growth of philology in the early 19th century. Those days, people very often did not travel to India. Of course, there's William Jones, who was officer of the East India Company, but somebody like Max Müller, de Chésy, or Gaston de Tassy never went to India. They were studying the texts, and they had a network of informants, and they got a lot of manuscripts and all this. This is the reason why there are huge manuscript collections, Indian manuscript collections in the West nowadays. But these manuscript collections are also a kind of physical proof of what is nowadays often called the appropriation of the world through philology. And this is, of course, a kind of outflow of the Orientalism debate, which started with Edward Said's famous book, Orientalism from 1979, and which led also to huge repercussions in all kinds of subjects that were earlier called Orientalism, Orientalist subject, Oriental studies. And because the philology is not innocent, it is part of a larger process in which, of course, colonization is part of it. Well, there is, of course, basically there is an advantage that Indology did not start in under the East India Company. In the East India Company had Haileybury College, that's true, and they sent their officers to St. George College in Madras, which was called Madras then, now Chennai, and for William College in Kolkata. But that was, they didn't have this deep interest in the study of language and text. They had a practical interest for their officers, because in those days the officers had to learn Indian language on a very profound level. That was before English became an important language in India. Now, of course, we are nowadays questioning the role of Indology, but still, Indology is kind of related. It was the colonial age. It was Upaniveshvad, and it is related to this. But how is it related? How can we dissociate Indology? How can we come to a critical philology? Critical language learning of Indian language learning in the West is a big question nowadays. How can we come to critical, self-critical study of the textual traditions, of the cultural traditions in the West? Of course, a lot of publications have been written that are kind of repercussions of the Orientalism debate. And for our Indology, a very important book is Ronald Inden's Imagining India, and then the collection of essays in this volume edited by Breckenridge and Peter van der Veer, Orientalism and the Post-Colonial Predicament, where you also find this famous essay, very much criticized by Sheldon Pollock, Deep Orientalism, the Indologist from Colombo University, who is still very active, and Deep Orientalism. Deep Orientalism basically on German Indology and its deep relationship to a kind of eliminatory eliminatory kind of anti-Semitism and kind of eliminatory anti-Aryanism kind of or Aryanism, but anti-Indian Aryanism. That is what he's basically writing about in this essay that has been very much criticized, of course, among others by Makarana and Paranjape, who wrote this rather sarcastic. He is professor at the JNU in Delhi, Deepest Orientalism. And many others. There's also Grünenhold, a German Indologist, who wrote some valuable critique of it, definitely. But the discussion is not over with this. It's still there. It's also, of course, including Homi Bhabha's The Location of Culture and many others who have written about the question of how traditional knowledge economy, how let's say Indology was part of the colonial knowledge economy. This term is used, knowledge economy, and it's about power. This is, of course, Michel Foucault and his studies on dominance and power are behind of this. And in this context, we have now all this questioning the futures, when we turn to futures, and we have these plaidoyers for philology. Sheldon Pollock has also written this essay on future philology, and the return to philology of Mary Imre. The death of Sanskrit, this book title is often, I think it's misunderstood. Of course, it's been criticized. I think it's misunderstood. Sheldon Pollock is very much on the Sanskrit as a lively tradition, and he is a defender of the Navya Nyaya tradition, 6 systems of Indian philosophy. Nyaya Navya Nyaya of 15th, 16th century was often taken as a kind of decline of the Nyaya tradition itself, but he defends it as a living tradition of Sanskrit learning in what is nowadays called early modernity, or in Hindi, Purushottam Agarwal has created this term, Deshaj Adunikta. So an Adunikta, a modernity that comes from the sources in one's own country. It's related to this whole debate on what modernity is. Is modernity a linear process, or are there multiple modernities? Are there different kinds of modernities in different regions of the world, in the different cultures of the world? Now, a new point, three new very important points have to be made that kind of reconfigure the study of Indians, the setup, the framing of Indian studies worldwide. One is the extreme growth of Indian studies in China. China has opened about 15 to 20 South Asian study centers in the recent about 25 years, so after the 2000s. There's a lot of language study, not only Hindi, it's also Urdu, Tamil, Bengali, and other languages, and Sanskrit, of course, associated with geography, history, and economy, and all these things. There's a lot of going on in China on Indian studies now. And unfortunately, there's not much of this kind happening in the West, I have to say. While we are on the decline in the West, China is kind of going up. And we will see over a longer run what this will mean. But anyway, China is really putting a lot of energy into developing South Asian studies in some way or the other. The second point is the question: what does artificial intelligence? How does artificial intelligence influence our kind of studies? First of all, language learning. Is the decline of the students in foreign language, is this related to artificial intelligence? Well, it's not all over decline. It's interesting. Korean studies, for example, is blossoming in the West. It's not only in one country, it's several countries from America to Europe, the same. These trends are going on. It definitely has to do with K-pop and things like this. But so it's not altogether a decline. It depends. And I'm not so convinced that this is true, that artificial intelligence leads to a decline of language studies world over. But artificial intelligence can be used as a tool to learn languages. Duolingo is very fashionable. By the way, there's a very good Hindi course in Duolingo. This is a non-governmental actor, and they have a very good course. Same is true when you look to Facebook. Hindi is also a very good language, very profound kind of thing. So there are non-state actors now coming in very strongly, and the whole artificial intelligence kind of market is mostly non-governmental. The next question is the third: Chinese studies, artificial intelligence. The third is what about English? Isn't English sooner or later dominating the whole scene? That has to be seen. Or is, when we talk about unity and diversity world over, it's of course Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam means the whole world, but does it mean Englishization of the world? Do we understand each other when we all learn English? Some would argue like this, like Chandraram Prasad argued like this. It will be much easier for us to communicate. I'm not convinced of that. I mean, unity and diversity also means it's not only about unity, it's also on diversity. So diversity is essential when we think about all the challenges that civilization has. I just mentioned some words: the climate change, the question of the nuclear power, the nuclear threat that is in the air, many other, the decline of fertility in many countries now, including India also. Where we need solutions that come from a non-standardized thinking. And non-standardized thinking usually develops. That's also what the scientists say. Develops in the mother tongues and in different languages. So unity and diversity. Diversity is essential. I'm not talking against unity, but diversity is essential for the civilizational process as a whole. Now, the whole thing about whether in philology is a failed discipline, I mean, I've shortened this up, is the whole thing. I think it's not valid. It's not a faith discipline. I just want to link up this whole debate with Indology. William Dwight Whitney was the founder and first president of the American Philological Association in the late 19th century, and he was a Sanskritist. So Sanskrit was related to all these development philology. And now in the philology, I believe, is coming again. So the colonial thing is there, but I would really like you to read this wonderful essay by Sheldon Pollock, "Future Philology: The Fate of a Soft Science in a Hard World." Soft science. He uses the word science in the old sense, which would include the humanities. That is the Latin meaning of the word. Of course, that would be a philology, future philology. There has to be a philology that is grounded in a critical self-reflection on these questions of knowledge economy, on the colonial thing, on the problems of the dominance of English and or other languages. By the way, it is quite possible that, I mean, when you look back 70 years back, French was the dominating international language, and before it was to some extent German, and before Italian and Latin, if you go even longer back. So we can come to a completely different picture in, let's say, 25 years. It could be Chinese or Spanish. So English is not the last word in history. Anyway, we have this tradition of Indology. I have to speed up a little bit, so I'll be a bit quick. This is a founding book of German Indology from 1808 on the language and wisdom of the Indians, which led to the first chair of Indology by August Wilhelm von Schlegel in 1818. This is the old tradition, which I think we should not simply dissolve or give up, but future Indologies. This is his wonderful Ramayana edition from the 1840s from Bonn. As you see, it's a Latin translation. Then Latin was the international language. So it's a Latin translation. And on the left side, you have this wonderful front page, which was made in Bonn in a wonderful Devanagari kind of letter set that was made at those days in the 1920s, in the 1820s in Bonn. So the 18th century was not really behind us in globalization, so to say, even if Schlegel never went to India. But he was even if this picture was also made in Bonn. So this is Schlegel. I be a bit quick. It goes then to Middle Indian languages, the Linguae Prakritike by Christian Lassen, also printed in Bonn in the 1830s. And we have, of course, in Paris, the Professor Garcin de Tassy with his Histoire de la littérature hindoue et hindustani. So the history of the Hindoui literature, Hindoui and the Hindustani. Hindoui was a term that was, it's not Hindi, it's Hindoui, a term that is also used by Amir Khusro and many others, as you might know. So what was Urdu and what was Hindi was not yet clear. It's not just the script. I mean, from a linguistic point of view, the script is anyway a secondary question. Now, classical Indology was on the classical, and we have the second part when we come to Mughal times. That's now an object of much discussion, whether this is whether the so-called Muslim rule in India is a form of colonization or not, or is it something different from that? But anyway, we have the second part also. I be a bit quick. So Indology had this went through the 19th century. We also have it in Sweden. I just show you this inscription in Uppsala. We have in Uppsala an inscription from 1838, a Sanskrit inscription, which the then professor of Semitic studies, Otto Tullberg, who was the first teacher of Sanskrit in Uppsala, made when it is said that this was a place where he proposed to his future wife, Sophia. And it's a quote from the Mahabharata. Very, very nice quote. Yavach chame dharishyanti prana dehe chushismite tavat tvayi bhavishyami satyam etad bravimite. So it's on love, of course, and that is what this inscription is about. So we have this old tradition. We also have some graffiti of Otto Tullberg there at this place, where he tried out Devanagari, and a lot of long tradition of prophecies in Uppsala. Meaning of Indology, I'm looking at the time. Indology is basically the history of Indology was written by Ernst Windisch published between 1817 and 1917 and 1920, and a lot of volumes published. This is the old tradition. By the way, there were also some Swedish. The East India Company was an international company. There were Germans, there were French, there were Russians, and there were also some Swedish. As you can see here, this is a book that Axel Lindaf Hageby wrote on his memories of his days in the East India Company service. And sorry, that was already, he came in 1857. He came when the East India Company was still there, but then in the British service until 59. He wrote a book on this, in Swedish language. Unfortunately, it's not translated, so it's not accessible for those who don't know Swedish. And we have, this is all the colonial situation. Robert Clive getting the Divani from Shah Alam II. And this is an image that I always show to my students, showing these red East India Company robes and the Shah Alam sitting on the throne and trying to include the East India Company in his system, which didn't work out in the end. Next, now way out of the problems is now the new name. It's very often called South Asian Studies, from Indology to South Asian Studies, but this does not really solve the problem of critical reflection, of the necessity of critical reflection in new philology, what is called world philology nowadays. There's one center for modern Indian studies in Germany nowadays. It's only one. When you look to China centers, there are several big China centers, and it's only modern Indian studies. It's not Indian studies as a whole, but things are of course changing, and it's still very often Indian studies combined with, for example, at INALCO in Paris, which is a very big institution, a very important place of learning, but it's still called Indian studies, as you see on above, Études indiennes, sud-asiatiques et tibétaines. So Indian studies, South Asian studies, and Tibetan studies combined. So this is a more or less traditional setup, but now South Asian studies is a new setup. We have the hermeneutical. I go over this now because of the time frame. The hermeneutical discourse, which is of course very important for us when we think about the future Indology. And in a hermeneutical setup where horizons kind of grow together, so it's a growing together of different horizons, going back particularly to the German philosopher Gadamer. And in Indian studies, it is Wilhelm Halbfass who went in this tradition. So the growing together of horizons would be in my opinion, the ideal of the future Indology and the future philology as a whole. Because we have to see that there are different cultures in the world. It's very important in a globalized world, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, that we look at each other. We are different, but we also we are humans all together, but we are different, and this difference should not be seen as should not hinder our communication. And language is not all in communication. Well, very easily people can be married for 20 years and all of a sudden somebody says to the other one of the two, "You have never understood me," even though they talked the same language for 20 years. All know this. I'm just saying this is a small joke, but to communicate, speaking in the same language and communicating is not the same. So when, for example, a Swede or a German with his school English comes to India, it does not mean that this communication medium English works as a tool of communication. So communication is more complicated. That's what I want to say. So future Indology has to be philological, of course. I go a bit quick now. The question is, why shouldn't people in the West learn Indian languages? That's the basic question when we talk about Indian or South Asian studies in the West. We have to contemplate in the age of artificial intelligence why this is important, and we have to find answers on this. Of course, I mentioned already Chandrapran Prasad, who wrote about this so-called goddess English, as he called it. I take him more as an artist, and I take him more as somebody who kind of likes to say something provocative. He's not so much the academic writer, But he believes that Indian languages are about prejudices, discrimination, and hatred, and less about communications. I would, of course, strongly contest this. I think it's not true. But anyway, of course, we have this as a kind of underflow of, let's say, an English educated elite that they often find that English is more refined. But I don't believe in this. And I want to argue, well, I don't want to go now, I'm looking at the time once again. I don't want to go so much into Mahatma Gandhi, who in his Hind Swaraj very clearly analyzed this situation that talking in a foreign language is a kind of slavery. We would nowadays perhaps would have to revise this point of view, but still there is some truth in it. And the question of identity is, of course, there. Is English a medium of identity or not? Difficult to say, not so easy. So the answer cannot be a clear yes or no. This is something one has to keep in mind and discuss. It's important that we keep up this discourse. Well, many Hindi authors have a good command of English, as you know. Bisham Sani was a historian, and he, of course, knew English. Agay was one of these. Gitanjali Rishi, one of the moderns, is very good in English. Uday Prakash reads English. He reads world literature in English. He writes in Hindi. Why writing in Hindi if you read world literature in English? Of course, there are very few people who manage to use English for creative writing. Usually, you cannot write in a language different from your mother tongue. Maybe there's some exceptions, and very few exceptions of people who change from one language to the other. One example is Kiran Nagarkar, who started as a Marathi author and changed to English later on because he was angry about his publishers. Another interesting example, by the way, is Jhumpa Lahari, which I think most of you know. Jhumpa Lahari was brought up, basically, she has a Bengali background, Bengali parents, but she was brought up in the US. And she moved to Italy a couple of years ago and decided she would write in Italian. So 2 books have come out now in Italian. This is interesting, this love-hate relationship to English. And she made this decision to write in Italian. You may say these are exceptions, but I think it's more complicated. Of course, there's a deep nexus between Hindi writing and English. In a way, let's say the genres of the novel and the short story are, I mean, they came up in the 19th century, Edgar Allan Poe and Gogol. It's a 19th century genre, which then became dominating genres in Hindi literature. And this, what I'm showing you now, is a facsimile in the introduction of the reprint of the first edition of Premchand's Godan. Go-Dan is the original title, by the way. And it's in the introduction written by the excellent researcher on Premchand, Kamal Kishore Goenkar. And do you know, this is an outline of the characters in Godan, and it's the first draft of Premchand. So Premchand, there is an English Premchand. So there's an Hindi Premchand, there's an Urdu Premchand. There's, by the way, also a Kaiti Premchand. Kaiti, you know, the script that the Kayas use. It looks a little bit like Gujarati. And there's an English Premchand. So we have 4 Premchands, kind of. So I'm just showing you this about the interconnectedness. Everything is connected. And whether we want it or not, English and Hindi are interconnected, Hindi literature. And when we're talking about multiple modernities, we have to keep in mind that even in multiple modernities, the units are not separate from each other, but they're connected. Connected history is the magic word for this. So identity is, of course, essential, and we are growing, let's say, but at the same time, we are growing. We have this smelting together of horizons, which Gadamer and Wilhelm Halbfass so much focus on. In hermeneutically oriented Indology, or what call it South Asian studies, but it will be kind of future philology. It has to be it has to be text based, otherwise it doesn't work. So this is nowadays often called global philology or world philology. These 2 terms are there, world philology, and I think this is where we have to see our future South Asian studies, or at least part of it. Of course, it has to be transdisciplinary and everything. In the end, I want to give you a small example. When we go into research, what we can find a lot of things. I'm showing you the dictionary and the grammar. This is what I'm showing you now is from the grammar of François-Marie de Tours from 1704, and he has a long introduction, of course, in Latin. He was in Surat most of the time. Surat, which was before Mumbai became a great place in the western coast. Surat was the biggest port on the western coast, and it was the main bandargah, the main harbor of the Mughal Empire towards the west. And he writes in his introduction, very interesting. This is a long introduction, and I'm coming to this now in the next slide. Tres und apud Indiarum. It's difficult to read, I know. And he writes this: Tres und apud Indiarum incolas usitate linguis scientificas licet vulgaris universal gentilis. I'm reading it out in Latin now. I don't want to be confusing. Just my recommendation: learn languages. I'm telling this to the students in particular. Whatever it is, it be Chinese, Russian, anything. With every language, a new world opens. So it's not just a medium of communication. But just a brief look into this. So he says the Indians have 3 languages basically that are used. He calls one is the scientific, the second is the common language, vulgaris, which means common language, or the academic language is the first, and then the common language, and the third is every people has its own. And later on he says, as you can see, this is in capital, in big fat letters, Sanskrita, which is in, in Gujarati you say Sanskrit. One that would be the academic language. The second is vulgaris, and he calls it Hindustani at another place. Here he calls it the language, the Mongolana language. And the third is, so that would be Hindi in Gujarat. And he says it's spoken in all the complete empire. That was Aurangzeb's time. So that was the biggest size of the Mughal Empire then, from Afghanistan to further out to Assam and to north of Tamil Nadu in the south. He says at any place, this Mogolana, this Hindustani, as he calls it as another place, is spoken. And also beyond that, along the coast, he said, that must be the South Indian coast, beyond the empire. So even in Kerala those days, and maybe he was talking even about the East Coast, there was spoken, this language was spoken. So that's very interesting. This is like the 3 languages formula, isn't it? So I'm just giving you this example, how interesting this research can be. And there's a lot of things to research. Very few people go to the archives. You see what Kamal Kishore Goenka discovered of Premchand in the Kala Bhavan, the BHU in Benares. So Premchand is a particularly tough case because he writes in Urdu and in Hindi and Kaiti also. And it's a very complicated editorial history of his short stories. Very often the original manuscript is Urdu, but the first publication is Hindi. But then the Urdu publication is not the first version that he had, but he revised this again. So there's a lot of research for people who know Hindi as well as Urdu has to be done still. So there's a lot of things to research in for the future of Indology. And when you look here, this book is looking into the year 2060. So we have a lot of time. So anyway, we are talking about I'm talking about Forget English. This is the title of the book by Amir Mufti, Orientalism and World Literatures. Of course, when we come to world literatures, we have to go beyond English. That's very clear. And the second book I am referring to is Orientalism, Philology, and the Illegibility of the Modern World. We talk about legibility. We read. For reading, we need language. So language is very important in any kind of South Asian studies of the future, I believe. Whatever the status of Hindi will be, let's say in 20 years, in Vikasit Bharat. We don't know yet exactly how things will develop, how things will change, whether Hindi will be really become official language between different states. It's not impossible. I mean, I'm not taking any stance here. I'm just observing. But things can change within 20 years. And the third is world philology, which would be a critical philology which reflects the difficult past. I mean, the appropriation, that process, the knowledge economy that is related to the colonial process in the past, and would envisage the future with a critical self-reflection of what the past has been. And this is now where my final slide, and I'm very happy. Thank you very much for giving me the chance. I'm looking forward for questions or anything else, any other kind of cooperation in the future. I'm very happy, and thanks again to Shraddha Srivastava and to Divyaraj Amia, who gave me the chance to contribute to this excellent initiative of the Autumn School of the Future of Indian Studies. Thanks a lot once again.
Thank you, sir, for your insightful and thought provoking keynote address. Your profound knowledge and perspectives have enriched our understanding and has also led us to think beyond the boundaries. We truly appreciate your time and wisdom and hope to gain more from you and from the future experiences. Thank you, sir.
बड़ी खुशी हुई. अगर कोई गलती हुई तो मैं माफी मांगता हूँ.
Next, we welcome our theme speaker, Mr. Divyaraj Amia, sir, from the Department of Indology, University of Tübingen, Germany, and Zurich University, Switzerland. Mr. Divyaraj Amia, sir, completed his academic training in history, political science, and geography at the institutions in Patna and Delhi, and pursued his MPhil in German language and literature at the Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi. He has served as a Hindi lecturer at the Department of Indology, Asia Orient Institute, University of Tübingen, Germany since 2004. Mr. Amia manages the Karmindu Shodgar Archive, a unique collection of literary journals from 1880 onwards, mainly in Hindi and Urdu. His notable scholarly work includes the article Patience Means Having Time for Others on the Change of Time Culture in India and presentation Questioning Normal Daily Life Towards a New Approach at the Budapest Tea Growth Conference in 2016. Through his research, he bridges historical study with contemporary cultural and literary questions, contributing significantly to the international scholarship in the field of humanities. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Disha, for this introduction. Can you hear me, everyone? Okay, thank you. First, a note of clarification. I'm not a professor, but I teach there. I was teaching there at University of Tübingen and Zurich for last around 20 years. And there I got this unique opportunity to teach introductory courses and also about different facets of South Asian studies. And that's why I could every time make a new journey to different new facets of South Asian studies, and definitely that includes Indology. So, and number two, note of clarification, that there is definitely this wonderful talk by Professor Dr. Heinz Wessler from Sweden. And as you have seen that there are so many topics that we could discuss and themes that he explored, because lack of time, we would like to do it in detail, I mean, when we have much more opportunity and time. But collaboration is right now not official with Heidelberg, but they all are also on board. You know? And before I begin, I would like to thank Professor Dr. Kumkum Ray for her generosity and especially the interest that she has shown in my, say, especially two presentations that I made last time, and also Professor Rajput and other staff, IT team, and Shraddha Srivastava. So for making this workshop possible. And now we can take off. Today was the first day, and I'm aware of the fact that we need more time. But for the beginning, for today, I would just like to point out that why are we here and what is the reason behind this collaboration among different institutions, and why do we need to come together at a bigger level. So for that, I would request the IT team to just begin with the website that we plan to start. And there you can see that why do we want to do this, this workshop. So just one sec, I will try to go for this website. Yeah. So here you can see very clearly, and perhaps here I've tried to point out that in the age of artificial intelligence and also ecological collapse, we need to rethink. Everything is going to be redefined. I mean, the way we think about ourselves, the way we think about, say, time, the way we look at the world, the way we look at our inner world, all this, I mean, this whole central axis of understanding might be, again, a kind of new constellation of these basic coordinates of understanding ourselves and the world. And there we need building blocks for the new society in the near future, long-term future. Where shall they come from? Here I will begin with a quotation by E.P. Thompson, a historian. He points out that for the future of the world, no other country is as important as India. Here I would like to include India in the sense of South Asia, thanks to its diversity and also different worlds that we have there. So this is where we can read, I mean, right from the beginning we can start. Just can we go back to the beginning? Yeah, just one more. Yeah, thank you. So South Asia is a unique region that is home to both pre-agricultural hunter-gatherers, that is, we have Birhor, Korwa, Chenchu, and some of the most developed sectors of modern world, that is software hubs and space sciences. Very rarely does it happen that speakers of one and the same language, it can be Hindi, Telugu, Kannada, Malayalam, or the variants of Hindi, that one can communicate with the communities at both ends of the world history. It has to be, there has to be a caveat that these tribal groups are also contemporary societies, but their ways of dealing with the resources is far superior than the way we deal with the resources. So it's not only that some ancient world is there, but they are contemporary societies. The simultaneous presence of different stages of mankind, in a way, coupled with the cultural continuities, makes the South Asian experience as one of the unique inventories of responses, successful, unsuccessful, or unintended repercussions thereof, to various challenges in its long history. So there are many questions that you want to discuss. For example, for the near future, what shall be the impact of artificial intelligence upon our society? What shall be the impact of, say, climate change? What shall be possible impact of the way we will deal with the production of knowledge systems? So all these questions that we want to discuss, be it women's question, be it question of hierarchy, be it the question of, say, religion, be it the question of aging societies, be it the question of here we have in South Asia different worlds, and South Asians should come to know about other South Asia. So there's a lack of, how to say, this is one of the most important tasks of academicians, of all of us. For example, if you think about, can you imagine in the age of feticide that this kind of unfortunate developments, there are communities in Northeast India, Khasi community, where mothers wait for daughters eagerly because daughters inherit the wealth and the children get the names of mothers. So that is the point, that we have some other societies, and if we imagine a solution, then this is already a part of daily life in other part of South Asia, and we are not aware of that. There are communities, they have not heard of honor killings. For example, there is also, so we can scroll down, then we can see what I mean. Just, we can go. So for example, in Rajasthan, the young couples, they come together and they elope, and there's no question of honor killing. So they are, by that I mean that there are communities about which we all must know that what is the use of knowledge. If you are trying to build a new kind of society, then definitely other parts of the world are not less important, but South Asia is unique in the sense that all these different kinds of societies are simultaneously present, and we can visit these societies. For example, as I said, among Bhils, if the young couples elope, they come back after 2 weeks, and the marriage ceremony takes place, there is no question of honor killing. So there are communities which are free of patriarchy or very less pronounced. They are free of, say, caste system or very less pronounced. They don't know how, I mean, they are not into destruction, wanton destruction of nature. It's not utopia, it's not theory, it's not hypothesis, it's reality. So, and there we can go and become part of this knowledge while looking for solution. We can learn from them and also see that this is the solution, or is it, I mean, after we have that kind of solution, what next? So we can know the limitations of those proposed solutions in the mainstream society. So here we have collected some examples. It's a kind of only teaser so that we can understand what we have planned. The good news is that we have experts and the voices not only from Adivasi communities, but also an expert on science fiction traditions from South Asia, from Institute of Texas, on 14th of October. And then we have South Asian experience. I mean, you have these two poles of history of mankind, hunter-gatherers, and on the other hand, we have science fictions. So nothing escapes beyond, I mean, after that, nothing escapes us. We can have, and in between, we have mainstream political experience of South Asia, two experts from, then we have Maninath Thakur from JNU. He'll be speaking tomorrow. That what is this experience, how can the approaches from South Asia help us also in understanding and grappling with the global challenges. Then we have presentation by Ajay Godavarti on decoloniality. This is from JNU. So, and then we have experts from Cambridge. Then we have poets from Kokborok, this language from Tripura. So we have tried to bring together voices of as different as possible worlds from South Asia. So that is one of the most important advantages of modern technology and knowledge, that how different the worlds can be brought together, and South Asia has this richness. And that's where we want to be aware of and prepare ourselves. So there will be two presentations on caste question, its possibility, I mean, what are the possible futures of caste question in the age of automation? And then we have the presentation on the reception of South Asian literatures and tradition in German-speaking world, in Russian-speaking world, and also in the Spanish-speaking world. So that was the aim. It is the beginning. I hope that we all can work together in a much more coordinated manner to prepare while searching for solution. South Asian studies and Indology should not work as the final solutions that we want to propose, but we can have always discussing, be it any question, I mean, be it women's question, religion, ecology, aging societies, or be it on the question of increasing boredom that you are going to face. So on all these questions, the discussions are incomplete if you don't have enough knowledge about South Asia. So that is the aim of this new kind of application of knowledge. We will know about ourselves more and also about the other parts of the world. So this is the whole series. Please look at this flyer. And there we have collected the examples from different. So for example, technophilia, what is that? Religion, I will just read it loud. On religion, did you know that 4 of the world's 8 major religions originated in South Asia? I mean, Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, and Sikhism. And the core teachings of 2 Buddhism and Jainism, for example, reject both gods and the authority of the Vedas. Some South Asian traditions also question the idea of eternal, unchanging soul or the need for a single holy book. So these ancient traditions also help us in redefining religion, and they are very old religions. So that was the central core part of our study, that if you study South Asia properly, then it's not only about, say, giving answers, but also you can raise new questions, which is much more important, because problems lie there. Here you can see that religion can be redefined the more we know about South Asia. So then we have one more. I will just take one more example. This all is only a kind of introduction to this workshop. So read it carefully, and we are most welcome in coming days to our presentations, because they will keep on, every time there will be a new topic, and they will also look at the topic in a new way. The last example will be of aging society. All over the world, people are growing old, and all over the world, they are going to face the same problem, or more or less. If they have better infrastructure, then it can be dealt with differently. But we have in Japan, the people who are growing old, they grow old and they are lonely, and this is called kodokushi. After they die, people seldom came, very often they don't come to know about their death. So what is the use of this technological development? So there we have one more example from Nepal. It is called Janko. If you turn 60 years, 6 months, 6 days old, 77 years, 7 months, 7 days old, 88 years, 8 months, 8 days old, you are celebrated. You're growing old, that means you are coming closer to the gods. So then you have the Kodokushi from the modern world, and then you have perhaps one of the different ways of dealing with aging from Nepal, from Newar community. So by that I meant we have Khasi, we have Newar, we have Bhils, we have Asur, we have all these communities. They actually show us new way. At the same time, we can also know about the mainstream challenges that we have. Also, question of politics, question of organizing our society in new way, what we all can learn from South Asia and from its diversity. So you are most welcome to join our workshop. So I thank everyone once again, and for this grand, wonderful presentations by this Nemesis, this group, this Samvad. So that all that I really liked, especially the statement that communication is the core. And for that, we have to be careful of uniqueness and togetherness, both can go together. So thank you very much for your attention, and see you tomorrow and in the coming days. Now. So if you have some questions or queries, or we are running out of time, then please feel free to tell us now. Thank you.
We would like to express our heartfelt gratitude to Mr. Divyaraj Amya sir, who has been our constant support from the very beginning of this event's journey. Your guidance at every step made this possible, and we are truly grateful for your encouragement and belief in us. Thank you for helping us shape this event with your vision and dedication. We are further privileged to have with us the guest of the day, Professor Dr. Madhu Rajput from the Department of Western History, Lucknow University. Professor Madhu Rajput is the head of the Department of Western History at University of Lucknow and is a distinguished scholar with nearly 3 decades of teaching and research experience. Her specialization lies in women's studies and South Asia. She has extensively worked on Bhutan and Tibetan women in exile. She has authored 9 books, published 39 research papers, and has written several articles in international platforms like the Bhutan Times and the Tibetan Review. She has successfully completed 3 major research projects sponsored by ICSSR and UGC, focusing on women and society in Bhutan and Tibet. Professor Rajput is also a member of the respected bodies including the Indian History Congress, Indian Social Science Congress, and the UP History Congress. Beyond academics, she is deeply committed to social service, having led NSS students in awareness, sanitation, and plantation drives. For her outstanding contribution, she has been recognized with awards including the Shakti Samman Award in 2016, the UP Ratan Award in 2018, and the Global Excellence Award in 2020 and 21. Let us welcome Professor Dr. Madhu Rajput to share her valuable thoughts with us.
Well, we say last but not the least. I have been asked to talk at the end of the program. Before beginning, I would like to thank the to Dr. Kumkum Ray, ma'am, and the students who have been listening from quite a long time. Along with it, all the other, madam, I have no idea, but all the members of the department who must be here. I would like to begin with one thing. I have always been a student of South Asian studies, right from the time when my guide told me, why opt for Bhutan or Nepal? Take some other interesting topic which will take you to bigger places. And my idea was, where I live, I want to know that region. A region which has more than 2 billion population, a region which has a presence, but it carries with it the weightage of its was being a civilization, and along with it, the questions we want to address today. Today, I'm very happy that this region has found a forum where so many aspects of it will be discussed. The first thing I would like to, my observation of this region is, we live in many centuries. अगर हम देखें तो 21st सेंचुरी भी है, तो हमारे कुछ रीजन्स ऐसे हैं जहां अभी भी 18th सेंचुरी है, जहां डेवलपमेंट हो रहा है, एंड दे आर द पॉकेट्स, मे बी दे आर एट द पेरिफेरी, पर वहां पे अभी भी the traditions are alive and we are trying to work upon it कि ये सब how all these things have developed. So here I would like to place one thing more on record. I have been an extensive traveler to this region. I went to Bhutan 4 or 5 times, and I have traveled out of their 20 zonkas, I have traveled to more than 11 zonkas, trying to know people. The same way I have been to Nepal. So these are regions which are not just something I read in the books. These are places where I interacted, from where my books were born, and they are like Abhi. I was just listening to Sir being saying the women problem, because I have worked on the social aspect a lot, and two of my books are on that. How ancient traditional society in Bhutan was so much female centric, where the land was with the women, but with modernization, what problems they have faced. So the question mark is how the progress has helped us, or it has created wide gaps between the society. As far as our languages is concerned, I think we are a region where languages have a very big role to play, because every region have a specific culture, a specific dialect, a specific way of living, and learning that, respecting that has been one of the main focus of mine, to know this region, which is home to me also. As I call it, it is a region where tradition meets modernity. We all know it. We had a very long time of colonization, and so many times we discuss the legacies. We still are we still carrying with them, like one of the problems which we talked of. But here I would say, like in Bhutan, when I was working on it, I learned that Bhutan used to have Sanskrit schools, and there was, but when the development started there also under the Wanchuk dynasty, they opted for English. It's not a fight between any or any conflict. It is just that most of the books, most of the literature is in English, and that is why they thought that it was very beneficial if they learned English. So if you want to be more effective, you should have to work on your own languages more. And when we work on them, we may have a universal approach towards them. Then we will be more, we will have a more acceptance of it. One thing which I would like to talk about, like at present in South Asia, we have a very big dilemma because we have the Indian Ocean here and the two Asian, as we call the two Asian giants, India and China. Now, China thinks that the Asia is theirs, but there is India, which says that there is room for everyone and for the development. Because if we follow, we have many small neighbors around us. Like Bhutan began with an aided economy. Why we can say, why will we be financing their 5-year plans? Because we never wanted our borders to straight away touch China, as it happened with the going away of Tibet. And one thing here I would like to make something very prominent to you. I have worked on Tibetans and I have worked on Bhutanese. And we are talking of a region where most of the religions have a big presence, and some of them have been born over here. So when we talk of this, we have to understand that this respect for each religion has been one of the reasons why we have been able to amalgate so many of the developments which have taken place. But if we talk of Tibet, what I have understood with Tibet is that they have kept the culture alive, and so has Bhutan. If you talk of, like, I came across their concept of gross national happiness, a population which is not more than 7 or 8 lakhs, but they have a world presence. Same is with Tibetans. They are living in exile in India, but the way they have preserved their culture, they have, they have made it in the world, how the studies on them is going on. So the more you work on your culture, the more you preserve it, and the more it is more, you want to use the word with prudence. If you put it in front, you will have a wide acceptance of it. So South Asia is a place where it is a place where cultural transformations have taken place, rich heritage is there. And so to understand this, we have to understand one thing. Okay, you cannot compare this region with any other region. It has its own questions and it has its own answers. Like when I was working on Bhutan, I understood when there was ancient type of education being given, most of the women stayed at home because the monasteries were not closed. But once the schools were made, you saw a lot of the enrollment rising very high. Why? Because of one thing. That is because the easy accessibility of schools. Same way, I had a opportunity of meeting Kunzang Choden, one of the writers there, and she said, like, folk tales and folklores are very essential for keeping these cultural things alive. So she used to say, Ki, my children are forgetting their culture. So what I do is in the night, I always tell them these folk tales so that they understand what their country is and from where they have begun. Same way, this idea of gross national happiness. We have this habit of GDP, considering where our country stands. But if with all the materialistic advancement, if you are not happy, because what did gross national happiness aimed at? It aimed at good governance, sustainable development, preservation of culture, and one thing more. which we have to understand in South Asia, with the mighty Himalayas here, and with this global warming, as I was talking to some of my Bhutanese friends, they always talked of these melting glaciers because they may have a real problem. So we have to keep environment also into consideration, because the kind of topography we have, the kind of geography we have, and at the same time, as I said, the geopolitical nature of this region is also very essential. I would not like to take more of your time, although whenever given a time, I would like to share many of the work I have done, extensive surveys, and what I have shared from them. And the other one aspect which we have to address is the economic potential. And here I would like to quote Gandhi, that my definition of Swadeshi is well known. I must not serve a distant neighbor at the expense of the nearest. It is never vindictive. So we cannot think that with the state in which SARC is, we can have an alternative. How can you have an alternative? Your neighbor will not change. We have to develop a policy to work on it. You have to we have to understand our constraints. We cannot go by any other idea. So we're not taking much time. I would only like to say one thing more, like in this region, we have recently seen crisis in Nepal, where the government, the prime minister had to resign. There is so much of social, what should be the role of social media, what is media literacy. We have to address all these, because how the information is produced, shared, and consumed, we have to be very clear about it. Because we have a very rich culture, but with the same time, we have a huge population. We have a huge, we may say it, but there is poverty, there is cross-border problems. There are so many problems we have, and we have to address it. And as it has been said earlier, India has a very pivotal role to play. And when you lead, you have to lead by example. And you have to understand that your neighbors look up to you to lead you. And that is what we exactly did in the Sri Lankan crisis, or so many times we have seen in the case of Nepal also. The relations may not have been good, but we have to understand that this region, we have to keep it above politics and above so many other things. One person I would like to quote here is Mr. S.D. Muni, somebody I have read also and heard also. And I would like to conclude by this: South Asia must have its own purpose and perspective while reimagining the region, so as to remain rooted to the harsh realities of the region. Four images of the region: coexisting economic dynamism, surging democratic inspiration, fading conflicts and insurgencies, and growing intra-regional comfort level, and preparing to cope with anxieties of global development. With creative and realistic synthesis of the four images, South Asia can emerge stronger and as a voice that can be effective in world affairs. We were a world civilization. We have the potential, and we still are the biggest market. But we should not be a market for others. We have the potential to improve our infrastructure, our manufacturing, and to give to this world what we actually have, a rich tradition, to hand it over to the future generations. Thank you so much for making it possible for me to share a little bit of what I think of South Asia. Thank you.
We are grateful to Professor Dr. Madhu Rajput for sharing her valuable thoughts with us today. Your experiences and insights have opened our minds to the new perspectives. Thank you for inspiring us with being the part of this special event. Finally, we will conclude this session with a vote of thanks by Dr. Rashi Srivastava, Assistant Professor, Amity School of Languages, Lucknow campus.
Good afternoon, everyone. The International Workshop on the Uniqueness and Relevance of South Asian Studies in the Contemporary World Autumn School, organized by Amity School of Languages in collaboration with Uppsala University, Sweden and Tübingen University, Germany, aims to provide an invaluable platform for profound academic discourse, specifically exploring the distinct intellectual traditions and the global significance of South Asian studies. On behalf of the Amity School of Languages, I wish to extend a sincere and formal vote of thanks to all those who made this event possible. I begin by acknowledging the visionary leadership and unwavering support of our Honorable Pro Vice Chancellor, Professor Dr. Anil Vashish Sir. His guidance is the cornerstone of our endeavors. My sincere thanks to Wing Commander Professor Dr. Anil Kumar, Deputy Pro Vice Chancellor, and Professor Dr. Rajesh Tiwari, Dean Academists, for their unwavering leadership. I extend my profound gratitude to Professor Dr. Kumkum Ray Ma'am, Director, Amity School of Languages, for her invaluable guidance, steadfast support, and pivotal role in the success of this workshop. My appreciation also goes to Professor Dr. Heinz Warner Wessler from Uppsala University, Sweden, for gracing us with his expertise and virtual presence. I'm profoundly thankful to our co-convener and theme speaker for today, Mr. Divyaraj Amiya Sir from the University of Tübingen, Germany, for his invaluable partnership and dedication. Thank you so much, sir. I'm truly honored by the insightful contribution of our guest of the day, Professor Dr. Madhu Rajput from the Department of Western History, University of Lucknow. Thank you so much, ma'am. I must especially acknowledge the University of Tübingen, Germany, and Uppsala University, Sweden, for their generous sponsorship and collaboration, which was the crucial to the success of this workshop. I thank all the heads of the institute, dignitaries, faculty members, students, and online participants. The seamless execution of this event was made possible by the relentless effort of the IT department, the admin team, and the procurement division. I thank each one of you. To the workshop coordinator and the organizing members, I express my deep admiration for your meticulous planning and hard work. And finally, a heartfelt commendation to the student organizing team. Your energy, enthusiasm, and dedication were the driving force behind the scenes. To every individual who contributed, I offer my deepest and most sincere gratitude. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great day ahead.
Dear attendees, we are grateful to all our speakers and the performers who have enriched us with knowledge, culture, and inspiration. Your enthusiasm made this event a grand success. Thank you for being with us today. Now, I request all the dignitaries and students to please come over the stage for a group photograph.